Good Yontif, everybody. When I stood here last year on the eve of Yom Kippur 5783, I spoke to you about aging and mortality. I talked about the urgency of conscience and the anxious feelings that may emerge when we contemplate the steadily diminishing supply of time with which we are able to make an enduring difference in the world. Shortly after that sermon, I sat down with a member of our congregation and I asked for his perspective. Sam is older than I am, and he's someone whose point of view I have always appreciated. He shared his thoughts with a kind smile and a sense of patience and purpose. Sam agreed that it probably is futile to expect that our brief lives will produce a permanent impact on the world. But he suggested that maybe the expectation that we'll change the world is the wrong standard for judging a meaningful life. Instead, if we diversify our approach, we can use our time to create many smaller impacts with greater frequency for the people around us. I thought a lot about Sam's words over the following few days, and I took them to heart. The things he said made a lot of sense to me, and I admired his instinctive desire to help meet the needs of as many other people as possible. So I made a New Year's resolution for 5783. Every time someone asked me for help in this new year, I would say yes. I decided that I'd focus specifically on giving tzedakah, and then at the end of the year, I would look back and evaluate on how things had gone. My commitment was simple. Every time someone asked me for a charitable donation over the course of this year, I would say yes. The year 5783 would be my year of yes. I felt the effects of my year of yes almost immediately. I began carrying more cash with me so I could give to people on the street. I stopped reflexively deleting the email solicitations and donation envelopes that came in the mail. Once I stopped saying no, my giving added up quickly. The amounts were smaller, but I was giving many more individual gifts than in a normal year. And the year of yes introduced me to causes and organizations that I never would have known about otherwise. Medical charities and academic institutions, crowdfunding campaigns and B'nai Mitzvah projects, and direct handouts to some of the many homeless Houstonians who live on the streets of our city. I found myself feeling excited to start each day because I was looking forward to opportunities to give, opportunities to say yes. The year of yes put me in the position of thinking about charity and generosity much more frequently than I had in the past. It felt good. That little resolution that I made back in last September changed my whole year. Well, almost my whole year. But I'll get back to that a little later. Observing these days of awe offers all of us an annual opportunity to build a year of yes. And tonight I want to ask you to consider committing to use this year to say more yeses yourself. I hope that for you too, part of this commitment will include giving tzedakah, and that when you are asked, because I will be one of the people asking you, I hope that you will say yes. But many of the areas in which we can increase the number of yeses in our year don't involve any material cost at all. A few years ago, the actress Jennifer Garner shared on social media that she and her kids have an annual tradition called a Yes Day. The rules are simple. On one predetermined day each year, she promises to say yes to anything her children ask. Ice cream sundaes for breakfast? Yes. A squirt gun fight in the living room? Yes. Eating spaghetti and meatballs in the bathtub? The answer is always yes. The concept of the Yes Day was so popular that now you can find dozens of stories online from parents who gave their own children a Yes Day. But when you read their stories, what quickly becomes clear is that what's really most valuable to the kids is not the junk food or the movie marathon. What they value the most is the time they can spend doing those things together with their parents and the people they love. And it's true for grown-ups too. Human contact, human relationships, these are among the many things we could stand to get better at saying yes to. Many of us have become quicker to say no to social invitations because it's gotten so easy and painless to do so, especially when we're communicating digitally. The pandemic years of enforced separation pushed us to optimize for risk aversion and weakened our tolerance for discomfort and uncertainty, even the brief momentary pang of it that arrives with every invitation for a social get-together. Today, we're more comfortable saying no than we used to be because we instinctively opt for less stressful and anxiety-producing choices in a myriad of ways. Our proclivity for the easy no has fed a national trend of social isolation and brought about a marked decline in our collective mental and emotional well-being. But a year of yes is about resisting the no that is easy in favor of the yes that is important. I want to encourage you to use your year of yes, to surrender a bit more of your time for social reconnection. Go to the office potluck, even though you know the food will be crummy. Go to the birthday party, even if you won't know anyone there. Go to the funeral. Go to the funeral, even if you're not sure you need to. Those momentarily inconvenient yeses are deeply beneficial for our shared society. For the last 20 years or so, the United Nations has funded an initiative to track and evaluate the quality of life across the globe. Each year, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network ranks every country according to its citizens' reported levels of happiness. And just about every year that the World Happiness Report has been published, Sweden has appeared among the top 10 happiest nations on Earth. What is going on in Sweden? One hypothesis about what makes Sweden uniquely happy points to a cultural tradition in the Swedish workplace. It's called fika, a word which the Swedes insist is untranslatable into English. The fika is a brief period every day when everyone in the office leaves their desk and gathers together to share coffee and pastry. To Americans, this just sounds like a coffee break. But Swedes are quick to insist that it is something much more than that. At the fika, unlike other gatherings, the normal office hierarchies are set aside. People chat about work and non-work related issues without regard to the social factors that normally divide them. Everyone is expected to attend, regardless of age, class, or professional role. And so the fika creates an intangible but vital sense of connection that gives Swedish workers a sense of satisfaction, purpose, happiness. In our American culture, very few yeses are compulsory. We cherish the personal liberty which, rightly or wrongly, ensures that no one can force us to say yes to just about anything. We can get by without joining, we can get by without giving, we can get by without helping, and we'll suffer few social penalties. But Jewish life has always been somewhat countercultural, and it insists, despite the prevailing culture of unbounded autonomy, that doing as little as we can get by with is not the proper standard for ethical choices. Doing the least possible to get by, fulfilling the bare minimum requirements, is not an acceptable life strategy. Judaism tells us that even when the world will let us get away with saying no, we should find a way to say yes. And that includes saying yes to the care of ourselves. For many of us, these High Holy Days mark the end of a year of difficulty. Some of us have spent it struggling in silence, finding it hard to say yes to the resources of care around us. We have to remember that saying yes to renewal and rest is not the same as laziness or indolence. Saying yes to moments of pleasure is not the same as gluttony or hedonism. The year of yes is not just about the kindness you show to other people. When you think about how to use your year of yes, I also want you to think about how you will say yes to the things you need to enter this year in good health and well-being. I'm perfectly well aware that lots of us here tonight don't need their rabbi's encouragement to say yes more often. In fact, some of us might need encouragement to get better at saying no. Not every yes is the right kind of yes. The yes that comes from coercion is the wrong kind of yes. The yes that comes in response to a threat. The yes that comes from guilt or browbeating. The yes that comes from an unbalanced need to please other people at the cost of ourselves. I want you to make this a year of yes, but I don't want you saying yes to things that will hurt you. Even in a year of yes, a wholehearted no is sometimes better than a reluctant yes, and it can be an indescribably valuable gift to ourselves and others. Now, I promised earlier to tell you about how the end of my New Year's resolution came about. And it's time now, in the spirit of confession, for me to come clean. The truth is that the year of yes didn't last a whole year after all. It ended just a few weeks ago with a no. And I want to share the story with you with the honesty and emotional openness that this season and this night in particular demands. All year long, I'd made good on my New Year's resolution. I'd said yes to dozens of charitable requests. I had supported charities that were important to my friends and family. I'd given away a decent amount of tzedakah, and I was feeling pleased with myself. I was proud to be aligned with the standards of kindness and generosity I hope to uphold. One day I was running an errand near my house, and I stopped at a traffic light at the freeway overpass. A homeless man there on the corner asked me for help. And keeping to the terms of my year of yes, I unrolled the window and handed him some money. A few days later, I encountered the same guy in the exact same place. I gave to him again. And then, would you believe it? Just a few days later, I saw him once again. That third time, he looked at me with a smile of recognition and approached me like an old friend, extending his hand. And for a reason I couldn't explain or understand at the time, I said no. For the first time in a year, I said no. I shook my head and I turned to stare at the traffic light, willing it to turn green so I could drive away. I don't know exactly why I said no, but I could identify the feeling that rose up in me just then. It was cruelty. It felt like cruelty. The meanness of that willful decision to turn away, of that choice to say no during a year of yes, is one of the sins for which I repent today. I've thought about it quite a lot, and I have concluded that the reasons for my no that day were all rooted in arrogance. And this is why I want to share this part of the story with you on Kol Nidre night. Arrogance is one of the transgressions for which we must make confession, and it is the enemy of all wholehearted yeses. I said no to that man's request because somewhere inside me I believed that saying yes too many times would mean that I was being taken advantage of. I could help other people up to a certain point, but beyond that, it would be somehow beneath me. That is a terrible, embarrassing reason to say no. And the stubbornness of my own ego in that moment humbles me and highlights my need for the work of tshuva. The purpose of a year of yes is to make the ego pliable and the heart soft. When we allow the fear of being taken advantage of to overtake our Jewish obligation to be helpful, when we let suspicion and cynicism prevail over our generosity, it hardens part of the soul into a nub of obstinate egotism. And that rigidity can undermine the benefit of countless yeses that preceded it. Conversely, when we exercise the soulful practice of offering wholehearted, authentic yeses, our world opens. If we're able to begin filling our lives with the right kinds of yes, we come to see that we're no longer trapped by the former boundaries of all the no's that came before. The hard edges of self-protection and self-absorption melt slightly, and we begin to grow. I'm asking you to make this a year of yes in all the right ways, a year of the yes that liberates, a year of the yes that feels like the opening of a door you thought was painted shut, a year of the yes that feels like the chance to inhale after years of holding your breath. You've had your heart broken this year. Say yes to letting yourself love again. You've endured professional setbacks and failures. Say yes and give it another try. You've hurt the people who are closest to you, and you've been hurt by them too. Say yes and do the work of honest reconciliation. Any new beginning can be terribly frightening, but this season encourages us to muster the power of yes, the hard work and emotional vulnerability that can propel us over the threshold into who we need to become. This holiest day awakens us to the questions to which we must respond with humility and courage. It calls us to repent for no's that should have been yeses, and to atone for yeses that should have been no's. I want you to use this year to say yes to others. I want you to surprise and amaze yourself with the depth of your capacity to give and to help. I want you to support the people around you who are weighed down by heavy needs and ungranted wishes, who are just waiting for someone willing to say yes. In your dealings this year, choose abundance. Choose affirmation. Choose transformational kindness. Build a new life in a new year that will be filled with goodness and generosity. Our tradition encourages us to envision every day of our lives as a perfectly balanced scale, so that every decision we make, every choice, every action, every yes will be the tiny nudge needed to tip the balance toward redemption and salvation. And finally, because what I said from this pulpit at this time last year is still true, remember that our time is not unlimited. None of us knows what is waiting for us in this year ahead. We have to make our choices and our commitments now about what we will do with the immeasurably valuable gift of a new year. Use this year to say yes to the most urgent questions that push and burn inside of you. In the quiet moments of the long and holy day ahead, peel back the petals of your heart and look inside. You will find somewhere in there a question that will not be denied. Curious but insistent, unwilling to be put off for another year. What is that question waiting with its breath held? And when will you be ready, at long last, to turn toward it with your eyes and heart open and say yes?